The NFL season is winding down, and so are our bold predictions. What will happen this weekend? Ed, Cleese, and I go at it head-to-head to tell you what we predict will happen in this week's results, and also talk about what we did last week and how we scored. It's all coming up in just a moment with Ed.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time.
Well, my football friends, this is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history, and welcome to the Big Bold Predictions. Week 17 is coming up in the National Football League season, and we are here with Ed Cleese once again, as we have been all season, to make those picks and take a look at what we did last week with our selections. Ed, welcome back to the Pig Pen.
Hello, Darren. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. It's a holiday week, and the holiday bowl games, playoff contention is going on. A lot of things going on in the world of football this week.
Yeah, the holidays are always a very busy time in the football world for sure.
Yeah, and it's amazing with everything going on this season. You know, we post a daily timeline of events that happen each day of the year in football, but especially this week, there are some major anniversaries of Hall of Fame legends that have been born. You know, Larry Zonka's Christmas Day. Bill Dudley is the 24th. Jack Ham is the 23rd. You know, it's some big names and some big games. Some of the greatest games ever have been played in this week, and we might have some of those come up this week in the pro football world.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny when you do look back on some of that is a reminder that the schedule was so different. Because if you go there, you know, even as recently as the mid to late 80s, Christmas area in that week of Christmas, usually a few days after, a lot of times that's when the wild card games would be being played. Mm-hmm. So, and then you go back in history, like to the longest game in NFL history, the Chiefs Dolphins playoff game, that was played on Christmas Day. So, you know, in 30, 40 years ago, this time of the year was postseason NFL to go along with the holiday. Of course, that has changed over the years as the season's gotten longer. But yeah, so it used to be even more intense because this is when things were getting really decided.
Yeah, I mean, Immaculate Reception game was a playoff game. That was December 23rd. Not that very same day in 1972. The Dolphins, the Cowboys came back from a 20-point down to start Roger Staubach's captain comeback bid. Same day. So two of the greatest games in NFL history, same day.
I wouldn't have been able to handle it back then if it was playoffs and Christmas. I would not have been able to handle it. Which is funny because that kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk about first today. Was I want to go a little farther back. I want to go back to May 14th of this year. So okay. May 14th, you might be thinking, why the heck is he talking about May 14th? Well, because in addition to being a complete obvious football nerd, NFL nerd in general, I'm also within the subset of being a football nerd. I am a schedule nerd. Okay. And I love everything about the NFL schedule, about the history of the NFL schedule, and now how it works with like the networks, when games are slotted, et cetera, et cetera. As a kid, this is probably TMI and embarrassing. I used to take my little folders during school, and when I was daydreaming, I would write out Redskins mock schedules for the upcoming season. And I would just doodle them every day. Like it would be like, oh, on September 12th, we're going to play whoever, you know, and I just go through and I'd always try to see if I was right when the schedule came out. And as I got older, the release of the schedule is twofold now. It's the excitement of seeing the schedule, but it's also like my schedule now gets released because as I'm sure you know, as you get older, you have a family, kids, job, all those kind of things. It's not necessarily easy to navigate the NFL schedule to make sure that you're where you need to be to watch the games every week. It is work. You have to plan ahead. You have to do a lot of paying it forward. And, you know, if you're smart and you can kind of figure it out, but you got to be ready. So like May 14th of this past year, the schedule come out. And the one thing I was cringing about and rooting against is I love holiday games, but I do not like when the my team plays on the holiday because it throws everything into chaos. Um, and I was like, you know what? The Commanders were good last year. They're in the NFC Championship game. We're gonna get scheduled for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. And boom, that schedule comes out and you see it right away. It was Cowboys, Commanders, Christmas Day, noon Central Time. And I was like, that is terrible. Because for me, because that is we go to my in-laws and that is basically every year when things start. We get there, we have lunch right around noon. And then, the whole afternoon is Christmas family stuff. And I was like, oh, so back in May, I started stressing about it and figuring, what, oh boy, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to handle this? And my mother in law is fantastic. She is, first of all, another uh, supporter of the podcast. By the way,
Wow.
that I have brought along. That's Nancy. You can say hello to Nancy. She
Hi,
asks about you
Nancy.
all the time.
Thanks for watching, Nancy.
All right. So she's wonderful, but it's also her day, so I don't want to, I'm wary of how, I've had to play this pretty tight over the years. And this one really was making me nervous. So the way it turns out though, Darren, is this is the very rare instance now where I truly, in this particular game, I don't care now that they are where they are and we're on QB3 and it's white flag time, there's almost nothing to be gained. And it doesn't mean anything for Dallas either. So, so now I'm in the mode of, ooh, this is brownie points time because when I go over and somebody mentions the game, I can be like, oh no, I'm fine. No, no, no. This is
But
let's focus
but
on the kids. Let's
but
focus.
if Nancy and the rest of the family's watching, I think you just divulged your secret, and now
This is the problem, Darren. This is the problem. So this is because I yap too much. I'm a little afraid that I'm letting it out of the bag. What I'm banking on is that this is a very busy week for my mother-in-law to get everything ready, and I'm thinking that maybe she'll forget or skip this episode, so that on Thursday when I am sitting in the chair in the living room, it's the first quarter of the game, but it's not on and we're just opening presents and talking and having a grand time that all of that praise and maturity that everybody will think I'm displaying will roll all the way to me and I can carry that over perhaps to next year if we run into this issue again.
I'm gonna make my first bold prediction of this episode. Yeah, your family's gonna call BS on this when you start doing this, and you will be caught. So that's my first prediction.
that's your that's your first bold
Two
prediction.
points right now.
That's your first bold prediction
Yeah,
of the
that's
of
right.
all right. So, but yes, it's funny because so growing up, no, it's Christmas Eve in our family is my mom's thing, and that has been since I've been a little kid. And so my mom can also attest to this. That now this is the first time in my lifetime, and I think the first time in their franchise history, at least in the modern history, that Washington has played on Christmas Day. This has never happened before. But they have played on Christmas Eve multiple times. And I have, especially as a kid and a teenager, that was always very, oh boy, what do we do here? Because like my mom wants to get things going like at 3 or 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and then we got to go to church. And if the game's at 3 o'clock, how am I going to manage this? And when you're a kid, you're a little out of control of it, right? You're just kind of bound to whatever they do. So my poor mother had to deal with this growing up. And then now my mother-in-law is sucked in as well. But it will not be an issue this year because I have matured, Darren, and I know what Christmas is all about. And that's where
Sure.
that is where my heart will be on Thursday. And then
All right.
we will anxiously await mid-May of 2026, when my schedule for the fall of 2026 will be released to me, and I can start figuring out what I need to stress about and what I don't need to stress about.
I don't have those problems because my family's pretty good. They know I'm a football addict, and I have to get my fix and watch the games. So they're pretty good at the holidays. But I hope you don't suffer what went through last year because my team did play on Christmas Day last year, and I had high expectations going in the game, only to watch Patrick Mahomes ruin my holiday and just
I do.
destroy. So
I do remember that one. You know, I told the story several weeks ago on Thanksgiving of my terrible experience on Thanksgiving in Dallas in 2002, and that is why I just don't want the team. I don't want my team to play on the holiday. It's too distract. I like the holidays. Okay, this
I
is
agree.
I would prefer to not be distracted on Thanksgiving or Christmas or anything. I want to do the family. That's what I want to do, and it's annoying to me if the game is at that time because then you're like torn. And so I know it ruins the holiday. It's almost like win or lose. It's because you're not. It's just weird. So I'm always rooting against it, and I feel your pain from last year. And I guess you don't have to worry about it this
No.
year.
But then you think about a team like the Cowboys, they had Thanksgiving, Christmas. Maybe they'll be playing in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. Who knows?
Yeah, really.
What's
You
going
know,
to happen,
yeah, that's that. Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you're a Cowboys or Lions fan, that's just part of your DNA and your life, and everybody just knows. You know, that's kind of the deal. And I guess you fold it into whatever you do. But yeah, I'll be rooting against Holiday, and with us we're gonna win four, maybe five games this year. We may be spared from the holiday schedule for next year, potentially, hopefully. This will be it.
Possible, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one benefit of stinking is they avoid putting you in the primo slots the next year.
Yeah, you might not have to stay up Sunday nights or Monday nights next year.
True. Yeah, I like
Thursday
to get a
nights you will.
I like a balance this year. My favorite time slot because I think it's just because it got established this way as a kid has always been the Central Time again, the 3:25 Sunday.
Mhm.
That's my favorite. That's when I wish we play all of our games because that feels big to me and I like that particular time slot. But the Commanders this year went over 2 months without playing a noon Central Sunday game because
Hmm.
it was all Sunday night, Monday night, and to the detriment of the rest of the league having to watch us because that coincided with their 8 game losing streak. It was like
Hmm.
those 8 weeks were all in a row that we lost them all, and they were all either 3:25 or at night, or they were the one game was in the morning in Madrid. So it was
Yeah,
weeks and weeks and weeks between early Sunday starts, and next year I have a feeling we're gonna have a lot more of them.
yeah, you probably will. Well, looking back at the past, we won't go back and look at last year, but maybe we should look at last week and some of our results from our predictions last week.
Yeah, well, let's start with you, and we'll start also talking about what was just my goodness Thursday. Speaking of the schedule, Thursday nights this year have been off the charts good. It's got to be
Hmm.
about the best year we've ever had
Yeah,
with Thursday night games, which, as we all know, can sometimes be very lame and ugly, and sometimes makes you even question whether the package should exist.
I
Um,
think Jeff Bezos is very happy that it happened
it's
that
been
way.
fantastic because these not just close games, but like good teams, riveting outcomes, just really fun games. And Sunday nights have been terrible, but Thursday nights have been great. And what a classic on Thursday night! And we're
Oh
both going
yeah.
to get 2 points for getting the Seahawks beating the Rams in that game. Uh,
Mhm.
that's as close. That is as close to as it gets. And you would have gotten a bonus point had the Seahawks clinched it with their defense, but they really
Mhm.
didn't. I mean, their defense wasn't that
Well,
great.
the kick, if you play fantasy, the kick return team is a part of the defense.
That's true.
If
That's
you
true.
want to get technical,
But I mean, the 2 point conversion thing was wild. I mean,
oh yeah.
just crazy. And then the fact that it comes down to another 2 point conversion, final play of the game, just really exciting. I will say this: um, we both had the Seahawks. The Rams are better than the Seahawks, and I felt that way watching that entire game. The better team is the Rams, but it didn't. Better team doesn't always win, and now the Seahawks are a couple wins away from winning that division.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's something to watch these next 2 weeks because it's a three-horse race now in that division, and any one of them could take it. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And then so skipping along to the next game on the schedule that was amazing is you're going to get 2 points and I'm going to get zero because Darren, my goodness, talk about nailing the Packers Bears outcome, because not only did you say that the Bears would win, you said that Caleb would lead them to a late win. And that is, from your lips to God's ears, that's exactly what happened.
I have to tell you, I was a little bit nervous because what was there, like 3 minutes left and the Bears were down by 10. I'm like going, oh, this is not going well for my pick here. And
The
to have that everything fall in place like it did, that was kind of cool.
the 2025 Bears are the 2024 Commanders. They are
Yeah.
they are identical almost in terms of this, these crazy endings, all going the Bears' way. Some of which are self-propelled by making huge plays or taking advantage of good fortune, and a lot of it is sometimes just good for. I mean, obviously
Recovering an
Dobbs
onside kick. Oh my
yeah, Dobbs
gosh.
has to muff the onside kick or none of it happens, right? If he
Hmm.
just falls on it like we see, 9 out of 10 times in the NFL, then the game is over. And the tying score never happens, the winning score never happens. But it did. And so massive credit to a guy that I gave some heck to early in the year. Caleb has gotten way better.
Oh yeah.
And talk about money late there. He was great at the end. He was fantastic. Um,
Especially all his stud receivers are on the
yeah,
bench in the blue tent.
he
That
didn't
was
have a particularly good game, but you know what? That almost in some ways makes it more impressive to me because that's what you need in the league, right? If you get trying to figure out if you got the guy at quarterback, right? Every team's trying to figure it out. Is this the guy? Is this the guy? And if you can kind of struggle and it's not a great night, but when you gotta have it, fourth down, overtime, and he dropped dimes. That touchdown pass in overtime is
oh my gosh, yeah.
spectacular. I mean,
And
that is an incredible throw. So
you,
credit
you
to
know who else?
him.
You know who else deserves a lot of credit because this dude was gassed. Is DJ Moore? I think is the first name, right? He,
Yep.
I mean, that dude like the 2 minute warning. He was gassed. I don't know if he had that one play, he dropped it, and you could just see his tongue's out of his mouth. He's panting. He can't function right. And for him to play the way he did the rest of that game too, to take in a couple of those key passes from Caleb was amazing.
Yeah, and it's not college. So rivalries only matter in the NFL when the games matter. If these two teams haven't played meaningful games in so long that I don't think the rivalry means much, to be perfectly honest. But when you
Yeah.
get this, when this happens, and you get two games within a 3 week span where both teams are really good, fighting for the playoffs, really fighting for the Super Bowl, of course, fighting for the division on their way. Both games go down to the wire. It's kind of chippy. It's cold. Like this is how a rivalry gets rekindled and really starts to matter again because it doesn't take much. And so now I feel like Bears Packers really matters again, and that's cool.
Yeah, it mattered to the fans because there was a lot of back and forth in social media last week before that game, and yeah, it's good to see them both being playing well and playing competitively.
Yep. So we'll go to another game where you're going to get 1 point. You came close to getting the full two, but you said the Patriots would beat the Ravens and they would hold them to 21 or fewer points. The Ravens had 24, and the reason I didn't give you the two there was because it wasn't like it was a garbage touchdown late or something. The Ravens sort of earned their 24,
Mhm.
and wait, they probably should have scored more, to be perfectly honest. Um, but you're going to get one for that because you got the Patriots part correct, and again, similar to Caleb. Goodness May, my gosh, it's just really impressive. He threw a pick early. He had a fumble in the middle part of the game that was a bad play. But then when they needed it, just that fourth down conversion was huge, and then the touchdown pass was just beautiful, spot
Oh yeah.
on, leading him down the field. Special stuff from a second year guy. And that was a good call by you because I kind of thought the Ravens were gonna beat them and bounce back, and that was a good bounce back for the Patriots off their loss to the Bills.
It might have been a different story if Lamar doesn't run that quarterback draw that he ran and tweak his back. I think that's the play he tweaked his back on, but he looked like he was wincing in some major pain, even walking in the locker room when they showed him.
And honestly, I didn't think that they looked much different with Snoop Huntley out there. Lamar's not right. Something's not right. And I don't know if it's injury or maybe it's because he's been injured so much and he's been in and out so much that there's not, a synchronicity there between him and his receivers or something's not right with Lamar because they don't look normal even when he's in. And then when Huntley came in, I didn't think they looked worse. The offense just kind of did what it had been doing. So it's been a very, very weird year for the Ravens, and it's probably going to end poorly, I would think.
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre. Uh, uh, Coach Harbaugh was asked, why didn't he run Derrick Henry a little bit more in the fourth quarter, to take some clock off, get some yardage. Patriots were getting banged up a little bit, from him just punishing them. And his answer was, he goes, yeah, you know what? I probably should have, or something to that effect. I'm like going, really? And I guess from some Ravens fans that I've been talking to, this is like the second or third time this year that same situation's come up and people have asked, why didn't you run Henry? So, Coach Harbaugh, maybe keep Henry running the ball late in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter.
especially because their offense has struggled to move it through the air this year, and they were having success with Henry. Yeah, it seems a little silly to get away from it. That you're going to get a zero. You had you thought that Todd Bowles' profanity laced tirade last week after the game would fuel his team to a
Oh,
rebound win in Carolina, and he might want to try it again because it didn't work last week. And that is like the eighth game in the row. I think it was seventh or eighth. I'll have to look it up. That the Bucks have not covered the spread. And again, that doesn't necessarily matter, but it kind of does because it means that you're consistently, coming up short of even where the mean is, on
mhm.
on what people think. Um, and so they after their really really good start, and it's funny because their offense is healthy now, healthier than they were early in the year. But they don't look very good. They don't look very good. Their defense really can't stop anybody. That wasn't an overly impressive game from the Panthers. They just kind of showed up, made a couple plays. Bucks kind of couldn't get out of their own way. So you get a zero on that one.
Yeah, I took that one on the chin.
And then another zero you're going to get that kind of made me mad because I was rooting for you. I told you this last week was you had Rivers and the Colts upsetting the 49ers. And it's very rare that I get upset at watching a game that doesn't involve Washington. But I was getting mad at the Colts defense because they were robbing us all of this amazing story because Rivers was great. That was so fun to watch. They were moving the ball. They're doing a good job on the broadcast of explaining how he's moving the ball with his checks and all the pre-snap stuff that he does. And, sort of beating the 49ers almost exclusively with his brain because the dude can't throw the football. I mean, it's awful. It looks like it takes 4.5 minutes to get to the receiver every time he throws it. It's unbelievable. And he can't move at all. Like at all. I mean, he never really could, but now he really can. So you have this quarterback who can't move and can't throw, and he's moving the ball easily in an NFL game. So it's just like this amazing, crazy, like Disney story. I saw a picture of Purdy next to Rivers, and somebody said this looks like a cheesy, cringy Disney Plus movie where a father and son play each other in the Super Bowl like and it really was. So it was this fun moment. Rivers is kind of doing this Disney thing, and the Colts defense just would not help at all.
Well,
Yeah.
at one point, was at the end of the third quarter, it was 27-34 or something like that. I
Yes.
thought
Yeah.
maybe, okay, play some defense now. Rivers
One
will get
stop.
you, yeah, get that stop, and Colts get back in the game, and yeah, they do not look like they play the way they played defense the beginning of the year, the first 8 games or so, where they're
No,
playing much better.
no, and yeah, that was disappointing because they robbed us all of a cool story. It would have been awesome had the game come down to like Rivers has one last drive or something, and that would have been really cool. But the Colts defense just wasn't going to allow it to happen. Unfortunately, credit the
Yeah.
49ers and Purdy; they were fantastic. Kyle Shanahan, goodness man, the Shanahans, he and his dad. I think you can definitely argue are the greatest minds in the history of the sport of football in terms of game planning the run game specifically.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. It's unstoppable when they get going. And credit the Niners, but that was very frustrating for the Colts to watch that and rob us all of what would have been a cool story and robbed you of 2 points. So
Yeah.
you're gonna get zero there. That gives you 5 for the week and puts you up at 72. So let's see how I did. Well, we
Okay.
already know I got 2 zeros because I was opposite you. I'm sorry, 1-0. I was opposite you with the Packers. So we knew
Right.
that was a zero. And I got the 2 for the Seahawks game that we mentioned. So my other 3 picks, I said that the Eagles would beat the Commanders by getting a stop late in the fourth quarter. And if Mariota doesn't get hurt, I think there's a chance that we get there because we were winning that game 10-7 with 4 minutes left to go in the third quarter. So we were definitely hanging tough and hanging in there. And then Mariota got hurt and it was wheels off from there.
Hmm.
And just, so I get a zero on that. I'm also going to get a zero. I missed badly on this one. I really thought that Dak and the Cowboys I thought they were going to beat the Chargers. And I kind of thought the fact that they got eliminated from the playoffs the day before would almost help because now it's like, oh well, there's no pressure. But they got smoked. They got
Yeah.
smoked. Chargers are just way better. I should have seen that coming. That was a miss by me. Chargers are just way better than Dallas, and they ran up and down the field on them all day long.
I thought you might have a chance though because of the game that the Chargers just came off of the week before. That was took a lot out of them because that was an exciting game and maybe just a little bit of a downer coming into this game against Dallas. But no, they look pretty good.
That was my reasoning, and you'd think at my age and all the years I've watched football that I would be smarter than to always rely on these weird anecdotal reasons for making my picks, like oh they traveled or they came off a hard fought win, and or the coach went on a tirade. You know what I mean? Like all these different things. And sometimes maybe you just need to look at well who's better. Like you know what I mean? It's you know what the Dallas defense isn't that good. Herbert's awesome. Harbaugh's career, his teams generally get better late in the year. So maybe I should just look at things that actually matter when making my picks. Maybe that would help. So that was a zero for me, and I also got a zero for your boys because this is a good one to end on because oh my gosh, now I was rooting for the Lions because I made the pick, and I also had some other picks and contests where I had the Lions. I have a bet that they're going to make the playoffs with someone. So, I had a lot of things going on, the reasons through for the Lions. But goodness gracious, that offensive pass interference call on St. Brown, which I think was probably legitimate, boy, that robbed us of what would have been the most amazing final play in history, maybe.
I I don't think it would have though. Okay, and hear me out on this. First of all, Lions fans that are complaining that they called OPI, well, they called it against Darnell Washington and took a Steelers touchdown off earlier in the game too. So they were calling pretty consistently all game. But that last play, if there's no pass interference on St. Brown, if he catches that ball at the 1 yard line, he's driven back to the 5 before he flips it up. I would argue that the progress was stopped and he should have been stopped at the 1 yard line. Game would have been over anyway. And that could have
There's
been an
no
argument.
argument, Darren. He was stopped, but that's what would have made it amazing is because the controversy that would have they didn't blow the whistle. So if they don't call OPI there, that's going to be a touchdown. Okay? They didn't blow the whistle. So and they even said it's a touchdown on the field, but it's eliminated by the OPI. So that's what would have made it amazing is that would have been a touchdown and it would have been crazy and the Steelers fans would have been completely up in arms and rightfully so because he is completely stopped. It is not a gray area. That is they always blow the whistle dead there. Okay? I almost wonder in that situation if one ref kind of thought the other ref blew the whistle but that ref didn't blow the whistle. It's almost like the refs thought the play was over, but nobody actually blew the whistle. And the next thing you know, Goff's flying into the end zone because the Steelers stopped too. So it's a shame that the flags came out, not for you, of course, but it would have been lore. It would have been the play where the lateral and the no progress, and it would have been like the immaculate reception. It would have been crazy, like the ending there. But I
But
was wrong.
I think that that pass interference on St. Brown was there's no doubt about it. It was offensive pass interference on that one.
I think you
The
got to
one
call
before
it.
that, a couple plays earlier, that one was a little questionable.
Yeah, I think you got to call it because he extends his arm, and it was Ramsey, right? Was it
Yeah.
Ramsey? Okay. And Ramsey, whether he meant to or not, does a good job of selling it because he kind of falls back. So Ramsey going back coincides with St. Brown extending his arm, which, whether it is or not, certainly makes it look like it's OPI. And so I think you kind of got to throw the flag there if you're the ref. I don't think that was a bad call. I think that was pretty good. I think it was a fair ending. That the Steelers played good defense on the play. All right, so they got the stop. They earned because even if they don't call the OPI, like you said, they actually did stop them short. They should have called it for progress stop. So there was there was justice in the outcome, but it stinks that it had to end with the yellow flag and a 4.5 hour zebra conference before they figured out what the heck was going on. But that was but it's funny though because good, bad, or indifferent, moments like that are why people watch the NFL. Okay, that's what my whole family was sitting around and we're all kind of what's going on. Everybody's sort of engaged at that moment, and those kind of moments and calls and the refs involved, lateral, it's a flag. That's cool, and it kind of keeps the NFL machine a churning with results like that.
That and a guy with blue tinsel hair.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so much happening. So much happening. But that could wind up being problematic for the Steelers potentially. Maybe, maybe not. They might be in the clear. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that gives me, I only scored 2 points for the week, only earned 2 points for the week, which gives me 73, which
Mm,
again, so we're right back where we were, man. You've
yeah.
made up some ground
One
again. So I've got a
one point
1 point
difference, right?
lead, 1 point
Yeah.
lead,
All
73 to
right.
72. And so now on to this holiday week of games. And I think it's your turn, right?
No, no,
Or
it's your
my
pick
turn.
first. Yeah,
All
you
right.
pick first.
Well, like I've mentioned many times, I'm also a big NBA fan. And this is one week where it's going to be, and we're Thunder fans, and they play on Christmas as well. And this is going to be one instance where I think the NBA might gain a few more viewers. The NFL is still going to win the day, of course, but because these Christmas games are bad. All three of
Mm.
them are bad. You've got three third string quarterbacks starting on Christmas Day in different games. So all three games highlight at least one third string quarterback. You got Josh Johnson for the Commanders. You're going to get Brosmer for the Vikings. And you're
I
going to,
thought Mark Rippon was starting for the
oh, maybe
Commanders.
he
Yeah,
is. I don't
yeah.
know
I thought
who.
they called him out of retirement or
Oh,
Doug
yeah,
Marone.
really. Yeah, he might as well. He might as well. So,
I think him and Johnson are the same age, aren't they?
yeah, really. Yeah. So you got Johnson at 39 starting for Washington who can't play. And then you've got Brosmer who's, 19 or however how old he is and he can't play. And then, Akeem Olajuwon or Clarissa Ludicon or whatever the kid's name is for the Chiefs is starting that night. And I don't know if he can play or not, but,
No, that's a Olakum. He's a former Steeler.
Olakum. Okay.
Yeah,
Olakuma.
yeah. Olakum.
Olajuwon. All
Chris
right.
Olakum. Yeah.
Olakum. Okay, so he's starting for the Chiefs. I'm gonna make so nothing is bold about picking any of the winners in those games, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna package them, and I'm gonna say that it's gonna be chalk on Christmas Day. All three favorites win, and all three favorites handle their business fairly easily. That would be the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Broncos.
Oh,
So they
okay. That
all three got a hit in order for me to earn the points. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm packaging
So
them.
so how can you even earn a point? What
Nah,
if
probably not because I'm
you're
making
so you're
individually.
all in on these three games for your two
Yeah,
points.
because
Okay.
individually, none of these games are they're the opposite of bold. Obviously, picking against these quarterbacks. So I figured all three got to go my way. So yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
All right.
there. You go.
Interesting. That is bold. Definitely
There you go.
bold.
All three. Yep.
'Cause it's hard to tell what's going to happen
Once you see
on
these
those.
guys play, you might not think it's so bold anymore.
Well, I stayed away from the Christmas games because I didn't like them, and like you said, I don't know that I'm even interested in them at all because there is nothing interesting going on with them
Right.
unless you have a family member playing or something. But I did like a Saturday game in particular, and I like the Texans and the Chargers game. I think this one is, even though they're not in the same division, they are playing for something that means something and matters, and you know, whoever loses that, they suffer a little bit. Maybe they're not out of the playoffs, but maybe it changes their pole position in the playoff brackets. And I like the Texans in this game because I think the Chargers. I'm going to probably go against everything you just said. Don't go by feel, and Harbaugh has teams play well at the end of the season. But I believe in the Texans. I love their pass rush. I love their defense. And I think their offense is coming into its own a little bit. And the Chargers are still banged up a little bit. I take the Texans by 10 or more over the Chargers on Saturday.
That is crazy bold, Darren. Because you're picking the underdog to win the game by 10 or more. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's big. Okay. I'm just totally flip a coin on that one. So I don't have it on my list. It's a fun game. And I think if I'm understanding correctly, and I think it's really the only way that works, the, the Texans are not out of the woods at all
No.
because if they lose, and the Colts beat the Jags, then week 18, I think, is Texans Colts for the playoff spot. So
Right.
they're only two results away from being on the edge. So, like you said, I think both teams will be, and the Chargers can win the division. So I think they're absolutely both going to go full throttle. I just don't have a feel for it. I really don't. I'd probably flip a coin and say Chargers, but I don't really have a good feel for that game at all. So we'll see if you're right. Um, I will move on to, let's see here. Um, I'm going to Sunday, and I think that Seattle, coming off their win, and they get the nice benefit of the extra rest. And sometimes that west to east travel, they're going to Carolina. People talk about that as being a negative, especially the early start. I don't think it's going to matter much. I think Seattle goes into Carolina and rolls the Panthers by 10 or more. Because Seattle's nowhere close to even clinching the division yet. They've got to have it still. So I'm picking them to beat up on the Panthers, who I think are playing admirably, but also a little bit above their heads.
All right. I like that pick. I also uh, chose to look at that game real close. And I also have the Seahawks winning the game, but here's where I'm going to get my 1 point back on you because I think
Let's
we're
hear
both
it.
going to win that game. But I'm saying the Seahawks are going to hold the Panthers to 20 points or less in this game.
Okay, Seahawks 20 or less. Okay, all right. Well, we'll see which one of us is more right. Well, what happens if they win by 10 or more and hold them to 20 or less? Then I guess we both get
Yeah,
it.
I guess we both have two.
All right,
If
sounds
it's a
good.
20 to 10 game or something, then we
Yep,
both win.
perfect. Um, so this is one of those that I may or may not actually believe in, but I think it's fun, and I think the Steelers are going to miss Mr. Metcalf on Sunday, and they are going to lose in Cleveland to the Browns, who will always play the Steelers tough, as you've mentioned many times. Steelers have been teetering a little bit, on the edge a little bit, but I think the Browns get it done. Now, what's interesting about that is it may or may not matter for the Steelers by the time the game kicks off, which is a little bit of a benefit to me because, maybe it won't even matter by then, and picking the Browns to win won't be that bold. But I'm saying it. The Browns beat the Steelers on Sunday
Okay, that's an interesting
with
one.
no attachment, no caveats.
No
They
caveat, just
yeah,
straight up the underdog
right.
wins at home. All right. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a second. I didn't pick that game, but I'm going to comment on that in a
Okay.
second because what you talked about, you alluded to, is the other Saturday game, which I did pick because this game may affect that Steelers Browns game. I have the Packers are going to put the Ravens out of playoff contention on Saturday. And I don't care which quarterback plays. It could be uh, Jordan Love could be back. You know, he's in concussion protocol. Malik Willis, you know, he's got a shoulder ACL sprain or something. You know, he could or could not play. Or they could have their third string guy that I don't even know if he's even on the roster right now. Maybe he's pulling somebody out of the bleachers to play. But I think it doesn't matter. I think you've called it a bunch of times. Something's wrong with the Ravens. I don't even know if Lamar's going to play, you know, or Huntley. You know, he's played well, but I think the Packers are just a better team, and that means more to them right now. Even though the Ravens are hanging by their toenails, I think they have a 7% chance of making the playoffs or some crazy number like that. That still could happen because they do play the Steelers in week 18. But I think the Packers win that game uh, without any caveats. But to comment on your game, I'm not so sure that even after the Packers eliminate the Ravens and it doesn't matter to the Steelers and Rodgers doesn't play, I have a feeling Steelers are going to start Will Howard, Ohio State's national champion quarterback from last year, who did not play at all in the preseason, was injured most of the season during the preseason. The Steelers haven't seen him except in practice, and I think they're going to get two opportunities against Cleveland and against Baltimore in games that don't matter to see what this guy can do. I don't think Rudolph will start. I think they're going to mothball Rodgers till the playoff time and get him healthy and get some other guys healthy. And they don't need DK. They got some other wide receivers. And I think Will Howard guides the Steelers to beat the Browns, but it's not one of my picks. That's just my gut feel.
Gotcha. I would be surprised if they wound up starting Howard because they have to plan to start Rodgers. So as of Saturday afternoon, they have to still be planning to start Rodgers. And I think it would be a little odd to then just be like, oh, sorry, Aaron, you're not playing tomorrow now. That doesn't matter. So I think, and I think there's a thing, coaches always talk about, reps versus rest and rust versus rest. And I wouldn't expect them to play him in week 18 if they're clinched. But sometimes sitting a guy for 2 weeks, especially because I think Rodgers would probably ask them not to do that. So my guess is that Rodgers would at least start on Sunday, even if the game doesn't matter. Then maybe they yank him, maybe they take him out early or something. But I'd be a little surprised if they just pulled the hook on it, even if the things go their way in Lambeau. Which I tend to, by the way, I tend to agree with you on that. I think the Packers are going to put Baltimore out of their misery. But I'm staying on Sunday. I'm going to Sunday night, and I am going to say, God, let's just keep this going. So Bears fans, stand up and cheer because here comes another pick where I'm picking against your team where I've been wrong literally pretty much all year long. So I am picking the Niners to beat the Bears by 7 or more. I think the Bears, having clinched now, can relax a little bit. It's not a massive game for them. Obviously, they're still chasing the division and they can still, seeding, but it's real, in a lot of ways, the Bears have probably accomplished their goal. And it looks like the Niners are rolling. Now, I know they're kind of banged up. Kittle got hurt again. But I think, I've seen this Shanahan story before, right? When the 49ers kind of get moving, they got the division in their sights. They got Seattle in the last week of the season. They can absolutely still win the division. So I think they're going to be all in Sunday night, and they're going to win that game relatively easily.
I I also chose that game, and I picked very similar to you. I said the Niners, they're going to roll the Bears because it means more to the Niners than it does to the Bears, even though they both would love to win it. And, they may meet in the playoffs and, a week or two after that game, who knows? Or I guess
Yeah.
more than a week. But but I do think the caveat I am going to put on this game is that the Niners are going to win it with some defense as they're going to produce 3 turnovers against the Bears offense, who doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. That's why it's a bold prediction.
Got it. Got it. All right. So my last pick of the week, I'm going to Monday night. And this is maybe not crazy bold, but I think the Rams are just going to completely take care of the Falcons. They're going to win that game by double digits. They're so much better than Atlanta. And that's going to be a no-brainer. It's going to be over at halftime. McVay's going to have them ready, and they will stay in the NFC West race with an easy Monday night victory.
All right, that definitely, if our predictions hold up, you have Seattle, the Rams, and 49ers all winning. That
All
takes
take
it
care of
down to week
business.
18, and boy, is
Yep.
that going to be some fireworks on that week.
Yep.
Be a lot of fun that happens. So that might be fun just for that effect as a fan. I did not pick that game because to me it's another yawner, and I don't know. I don't see an upset in there. But I did go to another big boy pants game here, the Bills and the Eagles. This game means something to both these teams. As the Bills will host the Eagles in Highmark, one of the last regular season game, I think, maybe in Highmark Stadium. I'm not sure if they'll have any next year in that one. It'd be in the new Highmark. But it's going to be a defensive battle. These teams their offenses have been suspect at times, but their defenses have really risen to the occasion when they had to. And I think that's going to be really true this week. As this might even be, some say this may be a preview of the Super Bowl, the Bills and the Eagles. Who knows? They both are capable of doing it. But I think the Bills are going to win this game. But I would bet the under on this game because there's going to be less than 44 points scored in this game. I think the over under is like 43.5 to 45.5. I safely think they will be under 44 points because of playing some strong D.
Yep, I can see that. And again, with the Eagles, they are very close to being locked into that 3 seed already. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how much that matters. Meaning, I don't think that they're necessarily going to give a worse effort because they're kind of locked into their spot. So I don't think that's that big of a deal. Um, but yeah, I think you're about right. The Eagles' offense has been I wouldn't even say inconsistent. It's just been bad, you know. So, and the Bills' defense has not been particularly good. They struggled to slow the Browns down for a lot of the game last week.
Mhm.
So that's, if the Eagles are not able to move the ball on Sunday in Buffalo, then it really starts to illustrate their problems on offense. But I would tend to agree. I think it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. The Philly defense is really good, and I kind of had a small lean to Buffalo winning as well. So I don't oppose you on that one.
All right. Well, it should be interesting, not only for our picks and our interpersonal battle here for
That's right.
supremacy of bold predictions, but for the NFL and what's going to happen in the playoffs and those last few lingering spots in the playoffs or pole position in the playoffs on both the AFC and NFC will definitely be helped to be determined this weekend and might shape up for a great Week 18.
Should be. Merry Christmas to you, Darren.
Merry Christmas to you, Ed, and have a good one, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya.
That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.